Today on Legally Us, why Britney Spears voluntarily entered her conservatorship and how Taylor Swift may be changing the way movies are released. We've got that plus so much more on today's Legally Us. Hey everyone, and welcome to Legally Us. I'm Christina. That's of course Neama Rahmani, President and CEO of West Coast Trial Lawyers. Hi Neama, how are you?
Doing great, Christina. How about you?
I am good. Like we said last week, we knew that we were going to have a lot to talk about when it comes to Britney Spears, and she delivered. So her new book, The Woman in Me, is out, and she says in the book that she went along with her court-ordered conservatorship that ended up controlling her life for nearly 14 years. And she did it because of her children. Now, she temporarily lost custody of them back in 2007 after divorcing Kevin Federline and struggling with mental health issues. Now, in 2008, a California judge placed Britney under a conservatorship, and her father, Jamie Spears, took control of her personal life and finances. She said, "Because I played by the rules, I was reunited with my boys." The conservatorship, she said, governed every aspect of her life, including her diet, her career, and even decisions surrounding birth control. She says she wasn't even allowed to drink coffee, and it literally controlled her entire life. So when she says that she voluntarily entered this conservatorship, was she almost blackmailed into this?
Well, Christina, you said it. A conservatorship is the most extreme form of control. Controls all aspects of Britney Spears' life. She's essentially a child. So, I don't know what she was told, but clearly she didn't have an understanding of what a conservatorship entails, because that's not a good way to get your kids back. Because if you can't even take care of yourself, how can you take care of your kids? So whatever was told to her, or at least how she interpreted it, seemed to be incorrect. And we saw some of this play out towards the end of the conservatorship when she famously called into court and she told the judge that, "I didn't know that I could ask for this conservatorship to end." That's something that her attorney should have advised her. So it's really unclear what she was told, but she clearly did not get the correct information.
No, it is strange that, well, she did switch lawyers towards the end of this process too, right? So maybe she just wasn't getting the legal advice that she needed. I mean, she even claims in the book that she was placed into a rehab because of the conservatorship, that she was given lithium and, kind of locked up against her will. I mean, is that something that could even happen during a conservatorship?
It can. And when we talk about complete control, we're talking about decisions regarding having children or not, what medication you have to take. She talked about the surveillance in her bedroom, and she couldn't even take a bath alone. I mean, these are all things that under a conservatorship, unfortunately, are appropriate. But the question is, should Britney Spears, one of the most talented entertainers of our generation, be under a conservatorship in the first place? And, that's absolutely right. When she did get a new lawyer, Matt Rosengart, a former prosecutor, former Harvard Law grad like myself, he was able to unwind that conservatorship in really short order, because really she probably shouldn't have been under a conservatorship in the first place.
Right. And especially for that long. I mean, when she was placed under the conservatorship, she said that she was going through a really tough time in her life. She was dealing with postpartum. She was dealing with her boys being taken away, and she was placed under, a 5150. I mean, at that time, do you think it may have been appropriate? And, and why did it continue for so long?
I don't think it was appropriate at the time. If having mental health issues or postpartum or even being 5150 was enough for a conservatorship, there's probably a lot of people watching that might be under a conservatorship. It's really, again, the most extreme form of legal control, and it's really the last resort. And even if she was appropriately under a conservatorship for some short period of time, 13, 14 years doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If you can travel to Las Vegas, if you can have a residency, if you can make millions and millions of dollars, you don't belong under a conservatorship. So what the judge should have done is at least every year, taken a step back and said, hey, even though Britney Spears doesn't want to be under a conservatorship, is this really appropriate in this case? Because clearly, at least to folks like myself who are watching, Britney Spears does not belong under a conservatorship. It's really meant for people that are elderly, infirm, they're in a coma, they can't take care of themselves, they have dementia, severe special needs, not someone like Britney Spears.
Is there any legal action that Britney can take now against her father for, putting her in this conservatorship for so long, or because this was a legal conservatorship, there's really nothing she can do at this point?
I think there are steps that she can take against her father, particularly to get an accounting of all the finances. I mean, let's not forget, he made millions of dollars, as did Britney Spears' lawyer, because she was under a conservatorship. Now, we don't know if that was appropriate or not. Certainly don't have access to the books and records. But when we talked about conservatorship, we talked about the conservatorship over the person, which controls Britney Spears' personal life. But there's also a conservatorship over the finances. And Britney Spears had both. She couldn't, she was making all this money. She couldn't even spend her own money. And this is something that may have been inappropriate. So I'm sure there are accountants and lawyers going through all those transactions to see what Jamie Spears did and whether it was appropriate or not.
All right. Well, moving on to Christopher Nolan. So the director recently complimented Taylor Swift for bypassing studios to work directly with AMC theaters to distribute the Eras Tour concert film. Per The Hollywood Reporter, he said Taylor Swift is about to show the studios because her concert film is not being distributed by the studios. It's being distributed by a theater owner, AMC, and it's going to make an enormous amount of money. And this is the thing. This is the format. This is a way of seeing things and sharing stories or sharing experiences that's incredibly valuable. And if they don't want it, somebody else will. So that's just the truth of it. So since we're going through this huge strike for so long and studios and actors cannot come to an agreement, could this be maybe the way of the future and maybe a loophole into all of this?
It may be. And, Taylor Swift is one of the most, maybe the most popular entertainer in the world right now, but she's also one of the smartest. And apparently, her dad got in touch with the CEO of AMC and he decided to bypass the studios altogether. So she's going to make a lot of money on this deal, as well as her world tour right now. So normally the studios get a huge cut of these types of distribution deals, but by bypassing the middleman, Taylor Swift can keep most of that money herself.
Right. And, and she was able, because she's an actress as well, probably involved in SAG too. So she was able to promote her film and do all this because she went through that other route. And maybe that's the way that directors are going to distribute their films going forward.
No question. I mean, this was a big boon to AMC as well. I mean, normally these theaters, they don't get a whole lot of money. They basically make most of their money on the concessions that they sell, the popcorn and drinks and candy. So to really go directly to someone like Taylor Swift, and AMC was struggling after the pandemic. I mean, this was a huge win for them as well. And it just goes to show whether it's, dating Travis Kelce and the NFL. I mean, really, we're really witnessing someone who is a brilliant entertainer, but also a business mind.
Yes. It is Taylor's world, and we are just living in it, pretty much. All right. Well, Tristan Thompson is back in the news because his ex, Jordan Craig, claims that the basketball star owes her thousands of dollars in child support. In documents obtained by the Daily Mail, she filed a declaration in Los Angeles last month, sharing that Tristan has been making either partial payments or missing child support payments altogether since November of 2022. So, according to the outlet, Craig, who shares a 6-year-old son Prince with Tristan, is now asking the court to withhold Tristan's income from the Cleveland Cavaliers in the amount of $80,000 per month. It is in her belief that Tristan signed a veterans minimum contract with the Cavaliers that pays him $2.7 million per year. The declaration states that $80,000 request is certainly less than half of his monthly salary. So do you think that she will get this since he's been paying these partial payments to her? She's asking for $80,000. He's making almost $3 million. Is this a reasonable ask?
I don't think it's reasonable to ask for $1 million in child support. Now, that's approximately what $80,000 a month is. But she is entitled to child support. And if he's not making his payments, absolutely, his wages can be garnished. It's no different from any other type of civil case. But sometimes we've seen whether there's a prenup or individuals aren't married, they use child support as a way to get money from an ex or a father. And, courts and judges really ask, does this child really need $80,000 a month to support him? Probably not, but she's going to get something, but probably not the full
Right.
amount
And
she's asking for.
you know, I don't know if it makes a difference or in the judge's eyes when he seems to be so involved in the child's lives that he shares with Khloe Kardashian. Not sure, you know, what their agreement is, but does the judge take that in consideration at all?
Of course. And I think we saw it recently. We talked about it last week or the week before with Tyga. You know, if someone is involved with the child and is taking care of the child and paying for the child, there's no reason to pay child support. You pay child support to the spouse that's really, you know, undertaking the parenting. And if you're involved for half the time or more than that, it's going to certainly reduce your child support obligation.
Right. Well, Tristan Thompson, always in the news. All right. Well, Neama, thank you so much for your expertise. As always, lots of interesting stories this week.
Thanks, Christina. See you next week.
See you next week. For more news content and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.